You won't believe how this ended, and I don't blame you if you don't, but I need to put it down exactly as it happened before summer turns into something else in my head. My name's Dan, 36. I work nights loading trucks and spend my days fixing whatever falls off my car. And last July the heat came down on Maple Terrace like a wet towel nobody could wring out. Asphalt sweated even after midnight. The 3 old sodium streetlights smeared everything the color of tea, and cicadas sawed through the dark like somebody forgot to turn them off. I live in the little ranch with a peeling mailbox halfway down the loop. Across from me, the Whitakers, permanent TV glow in the window, a plastic slide sinking into a triangle of grass nobody mows often enough. It was a Sunday when I first heard it. I rolled home at 11:50 p.m. with a Gatorade and a kind of gas station burrito over the sink because you don't want to wash a plate, killed the engine, and sat there in the sea's dying breath, listening to somebody 3 streets over play elevator music too loud. Then the melody changed. You know the song every ice cream truck plays, that tinny thing nobody taught you and you still know. It was almost that, like someone taped it off a TV through a screen door, half a step slow, a note or two bent just enough to make your gums ache. I told myself it was a pickup with a Bluetooth speaker and a dumb idea. I went inside, showered, lay on top of the sheets because blankets were an insult, and drifted into that heat wave half-sleep where your body pretends and your brain does math. At 2:11 my phone buzzed. Motion detected front door. The doorbell cam's app gave me the usual 3-second clip. My empty porch, a moth head butting the lens, and, underneath, that off-key tune, Closer Now, dragging itself through the fizz of the mic. I muttered, "Who the hell sells bomb pops at 2 in the morning?" And the fan pretended to answer. I peeked through the blinds. Street light. My car like a beached whale. Nobody. The music got thinner. Like whoever had it walked away carrying the speaker under their arm. Monday night it came back. The air tasted like pennies. No one put out. They're trash because it meant going back outside. I sat on the top step with a bottle of water, sweating down my shirt, and waited for the block to finish its breath. The tune stitched itself in from the intersection. Wrong, but confident. There's a place on Maple where sound bounces. A car idling at Oak sounds like it's behind you until it moves. This did that. I whistled 3 short blasts, the dog call my dad used. The song cut off like it had been unplugged, then started, again, faster, as if I'd encouraged it and it wanted to show effort. I backed up into my doorway and did the thing you only do when you remember being 13 and the house the streets over got broken into in broad daylight. Flipped the deadbolt and nudged a chair under the knob. At 1:38, the doorbell actually rang. The clip showed my welcome mat and the shadow of someone tall sliding across it from a direction nobody could stand in without me seeing through the window. The audio caught the end of a laugh. Faint, not present, like a memory the air delivered late. I didn't go to the door. I got the bat from behind the brooms and stood in the dark like an idiot waiting for a tutorial to end. Tuesday at work. I told Miguel, the one guy who doesn't default to jokes. He said he does things and stopped like he'd seen his own edge. Get a plate if you see it, he said. Cops need a plate. I angled my truck across the driveway that night, so the dashcam faced the loop, propped my phone against the window to catch a wider shot, and killed the lights so I wouldn't just film my own face. Around 12:25, the first thin thread of the tune hooked on the Whitakers' chain link fence. Then, like it had always been there and I'd only just tuned in, it was at the mouth of the loop. Something boxy crossed the wash of the far street light white, or pale, no clown on top. No kid-friendly decals, more like a tired panel van with a speaker bolted up where a roof rack would go. It didn't roll past so much as appear, then appear farther along, like a flip book. Cat scattered, the music hiccuped just wrong enough to make my stomach tilt. When it slid under the middle street light, it didn't cast a shadow. Nope, I said, out loud, like somebody could hear me negotiate with physics. It curved out, a view, the tune trailing like a ribbon, and a minute later my app buzzed. Motion detected backyard. I don't have a backyard cam. The feed was a black rectangle, then a low angle of my own back steps, as if someone had set a phone on the concrete and walked away. No sound. The app crashed. I did the brave thing and checked every room once, then did the smart thing and did it again. Nothing. The song wandered toward the highway and dissolved into grown-up noise. In the morning, I scrubbed frames. The dash cam had a pale rectangle smudged into the light and nothing I could call a plate. The porch cam had that shadow again, and the top edge was wrong, it was straight, like the mass over the person wasn't a head. I took the best print to Officer Green at the substation because we play in the same, if you call it basketball, league. He joked, then frowned. We've had 3 calls about late-night ice cream music in the last month, he said. Get a plate and I'll put out a bolo. Don't follow it. People get weird around trucks that sell happiness. I went home, took a nap I didn't finish, and told myself I wouldn't be the kind of guy who sits up waiting for a song. At 12:52 it threaded in thin and far. Somebody's radio in a different life. At 1:07 it was in my street. At 1:10 the doorbell applet with a live view of my porch. Nothing there, and the sense that the camera wanted me to watch it the way you want someone to notice you're pretending not to be scared. 3 soft taps came on the aluminum window frame to my right, polite, like someone didn't want to smudge. I slid a slat of blind with 2 fingers. Empty street. The taps came again in the same rhythm, and I realized they were on the other side of the frame, at the height of my ear, as if someone stood forehead to siding and tapped with a nail. I said, "Who is it?" because bodies ask doors to make sense. The cicadas stopped between the notes of the song, woven the way office people tie your name into hello. Something carried mine. I shut the blind and sat on the floor with my back to the wall like a kid. Miguel texted, "Sounds don't know you. People do. You tell anyone." I thought about Green and his 3 calls and wrote back cams. The phone buzzed a new motion alert from the driveway Chuteau in the bottom corner for half a second, small and white, then gone. Thursday afternoon a flyer was taped to my door. A smiling cone. Summer night special. New route. Maple Terrace Loop. 12:30 to 2:30 a.m. Cash only. Exact change please. And a QR code that wouldn't scan. The paper was damp, with something that smelled like antifreeze. I slid it into a freezer bag with 2 fingers and took it to Green like it was a strange egg. He tried the code, shook his head. "Print a picture," he said. "Cute." He promised extra patrol. At 11:45 a cruiser rolled the loop. Lights off. The officer's face ghost lit by the dash. At 12:18 the tune threaded in from Pine and the cruiser drifted back like a man scouting deer. The song cut. The officer keyed his radio, and the speaker behind his head repeated him half a beat late in the wrong tone. He put the car in park and got out, elbows wide, making room for all the outcomes. "Truck on Maple Terrace," he called. "Announce yourself." The night shrugged. He took 2 steps toward the triangle of grass. Under the 3rd street light, something not quite there stepped into the light for less than the length of a word. Not a person, not a vehicle, a shape the light hated. He recoiled like the air pushed him, His hand went to his holster and flinched off. He said possible into the radio, and the radio said possible after him flatter, like a copier. He got back in and rolled on like a man leaving a room without admitting why. The tune retreated to the intersection, or pretended to. At 1:58 the doorbell rang again. The live view showed my mat and, centered like a gift in a picture, a little paper cup of soft serve with a wooden spoon at a cheerful angle. It was still 90 degrees out and the ice cream didn't melt. I stood with my hand on the deadbolt and told myself I was not the man who opens a door because the night offers him a treat. From the lawn, the sound a small plastic slide makes when someone heavier than it was built for stands on it, then steps off. From the wrong end of the tune, a note held too long, then dropped into the exact right part of the melody like a student nailing it on the second try. I put my eye to the peephole because you can't talk a body out of that, and the fish I made my porch look like a stage. I could see the cup. I could see the spoon. I could see the top edge of something white at the very bottom of the frame too. Small shoes, toes together, hovering just out of view as if whatever wore them knew exactly where the lens didn't look. The doorbell chimed again, bright and ordinary, and on the mat, neat as a name tag, 3 wet block letters slowly darkened into place. Dia. I stood frozen, staring through the peephole at those 2 small white shoes, perfectly still, just visible at the very bottom of the lens. My name was still wet on the mat, each letter beating under the porch light like it had been drawn in condensation, not water. My mouth was dry and my fingers ached from how tight I was gripping the deadbolt. I didn't open the door. Eventually, the doorbell stopped, and the shoes didn't move. I backed away slowly, half expecting the bell to ring again, but instead, the porch came up pinged with another motion alert. The feed showed the same view, shoes still in place, but the mat was empty. My name was gone. The damp patch was gone, just dry, ordinary fabric. I killed the porch light and sat in the dark with the bat across my lap. Sometime after 2, I must have dozed off in the chair, because I woke up to the sound of that off key. I screamed melody threading through the air, closer than it had ever been. I moved to the window, careful to keep myself in shadow. There was no truck in sight, but the music came from everywhere at once, thin and metallic, like it was being played inside the walls. My phone buzzed, another motion alert. This time, it was from front yard. The clip was just my own face, looking through the blinds. I hadn't taken my eyes off the yard. I checked the time stamp. It was 2 seconds ago. I slammed the blind shut. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, I'd convinced myself it had to be someone screwing with me. A prank, a dare. I even thought about knocking on the Whitakers' door, asking if they'd heard the music too, but I pictured their blank looks and decided against it. That night, I parked my truck farther up the street, angled so the dash cam had a clean view down Maple Terrace. I left every light in my house off except for the dim hallway bulb, and sat in the living room with my phone recording, the bat leaning against my leg. At exactly 12:31, the melody started again. This time, I saw it, the pale, boxy van gliding around the loop. No headlights, just the glow from inside. I swear there was no driver. The cab was lit, but empty. As it rolled past my driveway, the porch cam flicked on, and I heard the chime of the doorbell through my phone speaker. I didn't move. The van coasted to the end of the street and vanished into the dark, but the music didn't fade. It stayed steady and close, like a needle locked in the same groove. Another motion alert. The clip showed my front porch again, and in the middle of it, that same little cup of ice cream, spoon perfectly placed. Only this time, next to it, there was a photograph, my photograph. A candid shot of me in the driveway, taken from maybe 6 feet away, at night. I could see the reflection of the porch light in my own eyes. I called Green. I didn't care if he thought I was crazy anymore. He came 10 minutes later, lights off, and I handed him the photo without a word. He turned it over. No writing, just a faint smell of something sweet and chemical. Stay inside tonight, he said. Lock up. I'll be circling the block. At 1:17, I saw his cruiser pass. At 1:23, the music started again, and this time it didn't move. It just appeared, like it was coming from the center of my living room. My phone lit up, motion detected, backyard. I don't have a backyard cam. The feed was pitch black at first, then slowly brightened, as if a light were being turned up from far away. Shapes emerged, my own back steps, my back door, and just in frame, a shadow that didn't match anything. It was tall, but its outline kept shifting, like heat rising off pavement. I watched, unable to breathe, as it bent down toward the door, and then the feed cut out. 3 seconds later, something knocked on my back door. Not loud, just 3 polite taps. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Another knock. Same rhythm. Then the front doorbell rang. I pulled the bat closer and just sat there, trying to convince myself I could wait it out. But then the knocks started alternating. Back, front, faster and faster, until they were overlapping. One constant rhythm all around the house. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Driveway. Against my better judgment, I looked. The clip showed the pale van parked at the end of my driveway. Door open, interior light on, and inside, rows of small white shoes lined up neatly along the floor. No driver, no one at all. Just the shoes, all pointed toward the open door like they were waiting. And over it all, that warped ice cream melody, now layered with something else. A whisper, low and fast, in a language I couldn't understand, except for one word, repeated over and over in the same sing-song cadence. My name, I don't remember. Deciding to move, but suddenly I was in my bedroom, shoving the dresser against the door, clutching the bat like a lifeline. The knock stopped, the music faded. By dawn, the van was gone, and there were no footprints, no cups, no photographs, just the smell of something sweet lingering in the hallway. Green hasn't answered my calls since. Last night, the flyer came back. Same smiling cone, same summer night special. Only now, instead of the QR code, there was a photo of me sleeping in my bed, taken from inside the room.